now.
Amazing. You should tweet about this.
We are live. Should we tweet about it?
Yeah, well, I did, but you should too.
Twitter. So what? So someone will
I will
come
tell
on.
you
No,
this, Elan.
this isn't public. Also, I just shared it with the patrons. It's just for us.
Oh, really?
But I guess it could be the public too. I don't care.
I already tweeted it.
All right. So only people who have your tweet will know about it because I didn't like make it a public like on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this, you either are a patron of Keeping Karlsson or you saw Ben's tweet. Either way, welcome.
If you did, I hope you quit that hell site soon, as I am currently doing. I've quit Twitter.
What? Twitter's the best.
Is it? Have you been on it in the past couple of weeks?
I mean, I'm on my own. The nice thing about Twitter is you could go on your own version of Twitter. And if you look at the people I follow from the @GameDayLines account, which is the only account I use on Twitter, it's great. I get all the updates about hockey all the time.
That's a very specific Twitter experience, though.
I know, it's amazing.
But I
don't want to go on the rest of Twitter.
Any other, no. And for me, I end up there naturally because the algorithm knows me too well. And I see some stuff that is truly appalling and that I can't handle for my mental health. I
would definitely recommend not check. I like to go on. I like the search. I like searching for Hellberg and then get people to talk about why Detroit claimed him. You know, like debates like that. I like to search.
You talk to Lil Dubrovsky about it. Just let her know that's the bedtime story these days.
What's going on with Hellberg? Well, apparently Detroit's going 3 goalies.
Because
they have the extra spot. So fine, just give him a game. He's gonna earn that job if he plays. You'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure you sound like you believe it. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. I don't think anyone's watching, but that's okay because this is just for fun.
It does say it's unlisted. I mean, I'm watching. I guess like it has no way of knowing that I'm not you.
Well, yeah. According to my stream here, there's 0 concurrent viewers, but I just like to have it live here for fun. But like,
there's Shams.
Shams is here.
Yeah, and I'm watching. So there's.
So then my YouTube studio it's lying. Oh no, now it says 2 concurrent viewers. Oh, there you go.
Cool. Wow, we did it, Shams.
Shams is the best.
Yes, there's no question.
Like, I didn't even schedule this in advance. Shams just comes to hang out and help us out. He'll call us out when I say the wrong line combos. Invaluable.
Yes.
Is it invaluable or invaluable? It's obviously invaluable. I'm taking Russian.
Invaluable.
I'm taking Russian lessons. Like I downloaded an audio book of like learning Russian here, and there's a word Sudavolstviem, and for a while I thought it was Sudavolstvien, but I think it's Wiem. But they don't really like hone in that much. They just say the word and just got to kind of catch it.
This is good content.
All right, well, so let's start the actual show then. Want to start the recording?
So bitchy of me. Yes. Yes, I
mean, I'll bet you the Russian. Wait a second. I think that oh, okay. The audio didn't change, right? My Audacity is showing. Oh man, I hate my Audacity so much. What are you doing? All right, well, whatever. I'll have the YouTube as a backup in the worst case. All right, so let's just start the recording.
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, record. Oh, now it. Nice. Oh, good one. I like it. All right, and I'll also record here as a backup. Record to this computer. All right, bro. I guess you start the show.
I sure do.
That's your job.
Know your role, Elan.
You were like telling me, why don't we do this like novel thing where you'll like have the players and you'll present them.
You want to?
No, I know. It was just funny. I was just thinking to myself, like, oh, that, like it's like I love the I'm happy to do it with you. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It was just funny that it's like sort of we're gonna do this novel thing of like I'm gonna present the players to you. When it's like for me, that's like my like common thing. But I guess with you,
that's your life.
It's my whole life. I love when people throw a player at me and I get to just be like, he sucks. And then
but I mean it's novel for short shifts to have somebody not me or Lewis.
That's true.
And
okay, I'm
it's
ready
like
for it.
You get to have, I feel too like in your on your show it's a anyway. Yeah. I guess you're just doing the same job as you usually do. Never mind. Yeah. Do you want to take over?
No, that's crazy. That would be insane. I wasn't even trying to imply that. I was just making chit chat.
I think it's just fun. Like it could be fun, rather.
All right, let's do it then.
Okay. You're hosting short shifts tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
What's up, champs? How's everybody doing? Ben's already laughing, but I'm going to keep going. My name is Elan Dubrovsky, and I am the guest host of this day's episode of Short Shifts. Ben, it is Thanksgiving, I guess, in America. I could tell because there's no hockey games tonight, which is a bummer, but I still get to talk hockey with you on Short Shifts. So how are you doing on this fine, very fine Thursday evening?
I'm doing good. I miss Lewis and John. I'm very happy to hang out with you. Can I just say Columbus is a bitch? Is that it? Can we start the episode that way? Because that's my first Thanksgiving thought.
Like, what are you referencing exactly? Like that, all the injuries that they've suffered, or is there something else?
No, I meant Christopher.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm very big in the fantasy hockey. I thought you were talking about how like it sucks for me that Patrick Laine has been hurt, and then I lost Werenski, and like, yeah.
No, I bet that it's going to be like a pretty interesting divide in terms of who knows. Like, I bet most people think what you thought when they heard.
Well, sure. I mean, it is a hockey podcast and not an America history.
I did say Columbus is a bitch, though. The form of that sentence is a little bit.
I just wasn't expecting it, but you're right. I guess it's Thanksgiving, and that it all ties together. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Like I said, I don't care. I'm here in Toronto. No, don't have hockey tonight. But like again, I'm just repeating myself now. But Ben, why don't we just get into it? Because this is Short Shifts. I can't just like blab on forever. But I guess the plan actually for the episode was that I'm going to be presenting the players. So is there anything you want to say before I present my first player to you?
Yes. So basically, Lewis is out. We invited Elan on the show. As we were talking prep wise, I sort of suggested, because it was just going to be me and Elan tonight, that it was kind of a special guest situation. Pitched him on an idea where Elan, it's a all Elan selects Short Shifts. He is completely in charge. Curatorial duties have been shifted over to the Dubrovster. And so I'm going to cede the reins for now. And I hope you can steer our ship. I trust that you can, Elan. I look forward to hearing how this goes.
All right, I think it's going to be okay. I don't love the nickname, the Dubrovster. Kind of rhymes with imposter, which I don't love. What
about the Dubrofessor?
There, now we're getting somewhere. But okay, let's start. I was just thinking, I'm just gonna talk about a bunch of players that really caught my eye last night. Like Wednesday night, like almost every team played. It was a very exciting night of hockey. It was a very exciting night for my bench in the Cupful. All the players who I benched had like super nights. I'll bring up some of them, but one of the players I don't have on my bench, I don't have on my roster anywhere, and I wish I did, is Jason Robertson. Let's just start there. And I know, what kind of fantasy advice can we give about Jason Robertson? This like superstar scored 2 goals on Wednesday versus Chicago, which followed his 2 goals versus Colorado, which followed his 1 goal versus the Islanders. It's very rare that Jason Robertson doesn't score a goal. He also took 8 shots in this last game. Ho-hum, right? At this point, I don't know if people have realized we are up to second overall in league scoring for Jason Robertson. He's just shooting up the list. He has 31 points in 20 games. He's tied with Draisaitl with 31. McDavid not too far ahead with 35, right? So we had some chatter in our Discord, the Keeping Karlsson patron Discord, about whether the person who has Kirill Kaprizov should make an offer for Jason Robertson. And like, it's very interesting, right? Because like Kaprizov was someone who we were talking about as like a top 5-6 pick in a lot of leagues going into this season. And so the person ended up saying that he was, kind of too scared to make that offer. I'm curious, Ben, like how for real is Jason Robertson in terms of like, would you trade Kaprizov for him? And maybe in a bigger question, like, let's say we're starting drafts for, let's say you're starting a league now and you're drafting for the rest of the season, or if we're looking forward to drafts next year, are we looking at like Jason Robertson going where Kaprizov was going this year, where Pasternak goes, where Rantanen goes? Like, is he like made his way up into like the top 7 or so valuable players in fantasy?
Jason Robertson is the real deal. There's definitely no question. 16 goals in 20 games, tied for first in the league with McDavid and Bo Horvat. And he's shooting more than both McDavid and Horvat as well, averaging. Here's the other thing. Not only is he shooting more and scoring as much as Connor McDavid and Bo Horvat, leading the league in goals, he's also playing 5 minutes per night less than both of those players. So the ceiling on Jason Robertson is absolutely insane. Like, if the team decides, as they have recently, what if we gave Jason Robertson 20 minutes a night instead of 17 and a half, then he could be the guy. Like, I think that he could finish top 5 in league scoring. I think he could win the Art Ross. You look at the underlyings, the on ice rate stats are a touch high, but like barely, like not in a way where I'm like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to regress. But no, he's if you look in our league, the Keeping Karlsson Ultimate Patron Fantasy League, only behind McDavid and Pasternak in fantasy points per game among forwards. And I don't really see a reason to knock him much further down the list once it comes to the draft season. So for me, like, it's too early to dethrone any of that big four, McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, and Matthews from the preseason. But I'd say Robertson for me is in the conversation at 5. I do have him ahead of Kaprizov. The other guys for me there are like Pasternak, Kucherov, and maybe Matthew Tkachuk is also in that conversation as well at this point. So I feel like, that's where I'm at with Jason Robertson.
Yeah, so good for him. Second round pick, 39th overall. Dallas got themselves a real steal there. But okay, let's move on from Dallas. Actually, no, one other player I wanted to ask about on Dallas while we're here. On the flip side, you would think on a team with such an amazing superstar and like that whole first line, right? With Hintz and Pavelski also, they're crushing it. You know, you'd think the power, we saw Jamie Benn has been scoring all these goals that no one was expecting. So you got to imagine the top power play quarterback defenseman, that's this like high super pedigree prospect who's picked 3rd overall that everyone loves. Miro Heiskanen, he's not even a prospect anymore, 23 years old. You'd think that he would be going bananas, but no, he is pointless now in his last 4 games. And I wonder why. I don't, I mean, like probably it's just a blip because before that he had 12 points in 12 points. He had 12 points in 13 games before this cold streak. So is this just an obvious, like, he's cold, whatever. Overall, his numbers still show him to be an amazing asset at this point. Or should we be a little bit concerned about Miro Heiskanen? I'm just curious to get your take on this current cold streak that he's gotten. Oh, you're muted.
I think more or less Heiskanen is doing like on aggregate what I expected or what most people expected from him. If you drafted Miro Heiskanen, he's on pace for 58 points. I think that's pretty much what you were hoping for. Like I saw a lot of people talking about Heiskanen as like a 50-point guy. But like where you're getting him with the back end stats, that's like the value and there's some upside being built in. And I think that that's more or less what we're seeing on the season. Like I said, pacing for 60. If you didn't think that he was going to be at that range, then you're probably looking at this last 4 game sample and thinking to yourself, aha, like it's all catching up to him. But if you look at the underlings on the Dallas power play, yeah, what you said at the beginning there, Elan, they are very, very good, leading the league in expected goals for per 60 on the power play. So currently Heiskanen is on pace for 28 power play points, and I think that holds. The question is if he can kind of drum up the 32 even strength points to hit the 60 threshold. And I think probably he's a little bit below that. I think I would have Heiskanen around 55 to 60 points rest of the season. So like I said, yeah, on the aggregate, I think that this is kind of evening out a bit of a too hot streak that he had earlier in the year. And if somebody's really freaking out after 4 games, then I guess go lowball them for Heiskanen and you'll probably be happy with that.
Yeah, I feel like it's like impossible that he'll like completely fall off like this very often just because of his spot and the lack of competition to take that spot. He plays big minutes on a high scoring team. So yeah, it's going to all work out for him for sure. Let's go now to another guy who was picked much higher than Jason Robertson in his draft. And that's Dylan Cousins over in Buffalo. Of course, like everyone's talking about Jeff Skinner and the crazy heater that he's been on lately. He scored, I'm talking about Skinner now. He scored 2 goals against St. Louis. He had 2 goals and 3 assists against Montreal. So anyone who has Skinner in their fantasy leagues, they basically won the week already, and it's like 2 days in. But as far as his teammate Dylan Cousins, this guy is only rostered in 11% of leagues on Yahoo, and he's really heated up lately. I think now might be one of your last chances to get this guy off the wire, unless Ben's going to tell me that I'm out to lunch here and forget about this guy. But just to give you the context, 4 points in his last 3 games. He had 6 shots against St. Louis, 4 shots against Montreal, 5 shots against Toronto. Like those, I love to see these shot counts increase. He's been getting top power play I've been seeing in the last couple of games. last couple of games. Sorry, I'm like researching and like talking on the fly. Last couple of games at even strength, Cousins is playing with Jack Quinn and JJ Paterka. So a really fun line of high pedigree guys. And yeah, I just feel like Cousins is someone that people should definitely have on their radar at this point, especially because Buffalo plays 4 times next week on 3 off nights. So just another reason to grab Cousins. I guess the downside is this week they're going to play Friday on the busy day, then they're done, while there's a lot of people playing over the weekend. But anyway, throwing it out there to you, Dylan Cousins, pretty exciting, right?
Yeah, I think like this is a guy who should be showing up on the stream scheme heading into this weekend. Because I agree, definitely the Sabres have a good schedule coming up. And Dylan Cousins has been looking pretty good, on pace for 62 points. And I do like the 2.5 shots per game that he's put up so far this year. But the recent hot streak that you mentioned, Elan, includes 2 points on the power play. And I just wonder if he's going to be involved enough on that top unit, just because between Rasmus Dahlin, Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, and Alex Tuck, it kind of feels like Dylan Cousins is likely to touch that puck the least of that group of 5. So I think, yeah, I'm not sure that he holds up the 60-point pace unless he gets really involved on the top power play unit. But like I said, definitely okay streaming at this point in time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, grab him and then we could reassess at the end of next week. But I have if he sticks on that top power play, I think he's probably going to be worth a hold. Even if, like you say, Ben, he's like the 4th wheel as far as the forwards go, or the 5th wheel overall.
I just can't
Still
see
a nice spot to be.
like in that situation. I just feel like there are probably a lot of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday weeks ahead for Dylan Cousins. And if you get onto a week where like he's just going to be on your bench for a week, is he going to be so high above the threshold of like replacement level that you feel like you can't drop him? Like that's sort of where I see Dylan Cousins heading, is sort of in that gray area where like he's a above average guy that you can get off the waiver wire, but like you may not always be able to fit him in on busy weeks.
Yeah, and he is center only. I mean, he's 11% rostered on Yahoo. So for someone in that range, like the upside is really high, but you're right. Now he'll have to just continue on this run. Like another guy very similar to him is JG Pajot over on the Islanders, who also, I hear the grunts. That's because your opponent has him in Cupful.
I believe that my opponent in the couple this week is a patron and pal of the show, Shane, who I assume is listening. And Shane, your team is so annoying this week with JG Pajot and Dylan Cousins going off. You know what I mean, Elan? It's one of those weeks.
Man, I mean, like, I know the pain of losing to Shane. I lost to him in my Dynasty League last year in the finals. It was heartbreaking. He knows how to build a team, okay? But speaking of Pajot, right, so Dylan Cousins, center only, Pajot also center only, and Pajot is another guy who's now on the top power play, a newly minted PP1 player, which makes him pretty into me. He's been like one of these guys that you're speaking about, Dave Betton's stream scheme. He's like been a friend of that show for years, right? Always like, not good enough to hold forever, but also like at the top of the list for streamers just because he's so great for hits and he gets a lot of ice time. So, and it used to be that the Islanders didn't score much. So I was like, what were the chances? But now the Islanders seem to be a higher scoring team. And Pajot is playing on a line. Like in the last game, it was with Parisi and Bailey before he was playing with Palmieri for a bit. But yeah, I'm especially interested in the fact that he's on that PP1 with Lee, Nelson, Barzal, and Noah Dobson. And he's like producing lately. So he scored 2 goals in this game versus the Oilers. One of them was a power play goal, 5 shots in that game. Before that, he had a couple nights where he didn't get any points. But before that, he, had a goal assist versus Nashville, a goal versus Ottawa. So he's kind of on a run. If you look at it overall, this power play one thing is kind of new, just like a couple weeks old. So, he plays for this week, Friday, Saturday, and the next week, I believe it's like a Tuesday, Friday, Sunday kind of thing. So like 2 off day games next week, but you'll have to hold him all week to wait for that to happen. So maybe we could compare him to like a Cousins, 2 guys kind of going off on a top power play. Who's more int to you between Pajot and Cousins?
I guess I'll take Pajot over Cousins just because of, or like in a vacuum, I guess if we're able to, like schedules aside, I would take Pajot because I like the peripherals. I guess because Cousins has the nice week next week, I'll lean Cousins. My issue with Pajot mainly, as I dug into it, is that yes, he scored 3 power play goals in the last 5 games, but he also scored those 3 goals on 5 shots on the power play in that stretch. And I just I don't see him continuing to be the trigger man on that unit. However, I mean, he's playing with some strong players, and like you said, the Islanders do look to be an offensively more gifted team than they have in previous years. So I'm not saying, I feel really similar to Dylan Cousins in terms of, yes, if this power play one deployment holds, then I think that JG Pageau could hit a new plateau, like maybe a 50-point plateau, which with his back end, with his peripherals, makes him probably a pretty decent roster, a very rosterable player in the cupful, in deep leagues, in even 12-team leagues that count peripherals. So to me, Pageau is a hold right now, but one of those guys who, if he loses the power play, which I don't really see a reason to think that he's suddenly, like, listen, I'm not watching these Islanders games, so I'm running the risk of being attacked by the area of Long Island. But basically, like, unless he's in this spot where he is the singular guy who can score these 3 goals on the last 5 shots, which is hard for me to believe just based on the rest of his career, then it's hard for me to get like overexcited about Pageau right now.
Yeah, I think that's all very reasonable. I think we're on the same page here. We're talking about some guys who are less than 20% rostered on Yahoo that seem to be having an uptick now, have reasons to be interested in them. It's not just like a random hot streak from a nobody. These are guys that are now, getting better deployment, and we'll see what they do. So we've got now a goalie to talk about, and then a bunch of D that I want to throw at you who all had some good games. Oh, and an outry. Oh, we have a lot to get to, and it's a short shift. So we're going to get to all that in just a sec. You're listening to Short Shifts.
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
No,
we're
you're
done
you're
this. We're gonna be done this
crushing
in like 15 minutes.
You're
see.
going so fast. I've never seen you do it like this.
Hey, you have a deadline. Is anyone else here? Still just. I say just Shams, and I feel bad. Like just Shams is like, oh no, it says here 4 concurrent viewers. Imagine like one day being like really popular, like having like hundreds of concurrent viewers. Could you imagine?
Imagine one day being really popular.
It's
just such a good question.
I wonder what it would feel like. Do you think it would be the same? Like, would we be doing the same show, or would we be acting differently because we knew so many people were watching us? And like, imagine the chat was just like streaming, just like so many, like, Ben, what are you talking about? Elan, I agree with Ben. I agree with Elan. I don't know. It'd be really fun.
I think we would have to like make several you're not asking me this question, but the actual answer is like, yeah, you have to like lean into that type of program, right? Like you got to get really good at like and like very streamlined all of the conversation, and yeah, that's a lot of a very different show. You're right.
Maybe it's the kind of thing we could try for it once. Like we'll like schedule with the patrons. Like this is the episode where we're gonna have the most concurrent viewers, and it's like a month in advance. Mark your calendar. We're having giveaways. Like really make it like a thing. Maybe it could happen.
The Keeping Karlsson holiday spectacular.
Yeah, maybe.
We're setting it up now because it's Thanksgiving, so it makes sense.
Okay. Oh, gonna get any good deals tomorrow?
Yes, I'm buying a lot of I'm basically redoing my entire home office this week. So yeah, buying a lot of stuff.
Do you get reimbursements from your work, or is this all out of pocket? Oh, okay. Oh, so who cares if it's on sale or not?
Because I can get more.
Oh, like you have a budget.
I'm not gonna get They're gonna give me like a percentage or whatever.
Okay, cool. Well, hope you find what you need.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to the show here. That was a fun little
You don't want me to screen share and show all my picks, all my purchases?
That might be interesting. Maybe at the end.
All right. Let's not.
All right. Okay.
We can.
All right. Do you find sometimes, I love frozen tools, sometimes it doesn't load fast enough. Sometimes it just hangs.
Ever heard you say a bad thing about frozen tools?
Well, I just like
monumental.
I depend on it, and then like I just brought up Karel Vejmelka's page, and I clicked on game log, and it said processing, and it wasn't loading, so I had to refresh the page, and now it's here. But it's like, I don't want to wait. I need it. I'm doing a show.
Yeah, they should. Aren't you friends with Eric?
And what am I going to say? Whenever I do a feature request, I can't be like, can you make the site like have better performance? It's hard.
I mean, it works when you ask for other stuff. Maybe all you got to do is ask, my friend.
And he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I should make the site.
I should make it faster. Yeah.
All right, let's do this. I guess Vejmelka had a couple back. Anyways, whatever. We'll discuss it on the show. You can still throw that question to me that you wanted to. I'm up for it. Maybe after Vejmelka we could do it because it'll be goalie talk. Okay. Welcome back to Short Shifts. Once again, Elan Dubrovsky here with my good jolly friend Ben Burnett.
Oh.
I want to do a quick goalie talk here. Here's a goalie who I had on my bench in Cupful. Oh, by the way, I also had Peugeot on my bench in Cupful. So just to talk about all the great, I'm losing by the way by like
Shane.
I'm losing by 25 points in my matchup. And I had like 27 points bench just from Peugeot. And this guy, Karl Vejmelka, because I, for some reason, put in Martin Jones because I'm a big dum-dum. Vejmelka and the Coyotes went up against the Carolina Hurricanes. You would think that's a pretty tough opponent. Carolina's going to score. You know what? Carolina tried their best. They took 32 shots. No, scratch that. They took 36 shots, and none of them got by Carol. Carol, you did it. What an amazing game for him. That's really starting to build to like a pretty great season for a guy who's supposed to be on a dumpster fire team that every start is a huge risk. And you know what, to be fair, his last couple starts weren't like so amazing. He led in 4 goals, but against Vegas, a really strong team, and it was on like 39 shots. He had a bit of a clunker against the Rangers, bit of a clunker against the Devils, but again, one of the other top teams in the league, letting in 4 goals. Aside from that, Vejmelka's been having tons of quality starts. He's up to a .916 save percentage in 13 games on the season and 6 wins. I don't know. Like, I don't think many people were expecting the Coyotes to win. Like, they just beat the Carolina Hurricanes by 4 goals. Imagine if you were like betting, and you know how you can bet on like the spread, and you could do like plus, imagine if you bet like Arizona minus 3.5 against Carolina. You probably could have won like $1 million on a $1 bet. Like, so anyway, this guy, like that was such an amazing performance. And this is a guy, by the way, who's only 37% rostered on Yahoo. And, talking to people, word on the street is people need goalies all the time. Someone on our Discord today was talking about how you just traded like a superstar. I forget who it was, like someone really amazing to get Vasilevsky. I almost feel like before you go and trade someone great to get Vasilevsky, check if Karl Vejmelka is still available, because it's like, this is a guy who's like still available for free in a ton of leagues. And this guy's free, especially if your league count saves. Good for him. Kudos, Karl. You'll never be on my bench again.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Karl Vejmelka here. Vejmelka is very good. And the Arizona Coyotes seem like maybe not as bad as usual. But I feel like a lot of what we're looking at, like if you go to Frozen Tools, you'll see that Karl Vejmelka has 4.5 goals saved above average. 3.4 of those came just yesterday. So if you look back over the full season, it's a little bit, the point totals are a little less gaudy, or the goals saved above average anyway. So he did, I recall as well, have similar stretches last year where he was just unbelievably good. And then he fell off because I presume the workload was too intense, and being behind Arizona 80 games or 60 games is just a lot for anyone. So I think it's hard for me to get too excited about Vejmelka, just because of it's hard for me to adjust my expectations too much from, we saw a longer stretch where he struggled despite having similar highs last year. But there are going to be weeks where he's like the fantasy MVP, and the challenge is for you, Elan, and everyone else who benched him yesterday. The challenge is definitely figuring out which weeks are going to be the ones where he just goes ballistic.
I mean, I'm at the point now, I've decided for myself, I'm just going to play him all the time. If he has a bad game, whatever, he has the opportunity to give me some like big week winning games if I don't blow it. One thing that's making it a little bit easier maybe to play goal for the Coyotes is these outjuries that you guys already talked about on Tuesday, but now we have a couple of days to discuss of data, like Jacob Chychrun and Nick Schmaltz. Both are back. Chychrun, great game against Carolina. He only had an assist, but that was along with 8 shots on goal, 3 hits and a block. So yeah, this like multi-category monster that we remember from a couple seasons ago. Coyotes, I think smartly, have put him on the top power play, not like last year, because now they're showcasing him. They're going to see what kind of crazy, anytime you search for Chychrun on Twitter, I think I've discussed this on a show, like you can't, I was like trying to I have Chychrun on my couple team, and he was in my IR, and I just wanted like injury updates. Like I'm just like searching on Twitter, like to find someone that's going to tell me one thing about how his, wrist is healing. But it was just like just streams and streams of tweets of everyone speculating on who he's going to get traded for. And like everyone is so curious. I'm very curious myself now to see if and where he's going to go. But anyway, He's great. If you could get him, well, I don't know, like not much to say. I'm really excited for him that he got back on the top power play. That was one thing that I was wondering if it was going to happen. And it did. Nice to see, by the way, Gossesbear had himself a good game yesterday. So like, and also not bumped from the top power play. They're just going 2D. Even like this guy, JJ Moser, who was on the top power play for a bit and was bumped off. He still like has assists in 3 straight games. Like a lot of fun in Carolina. And I guess, yeah, to finish this story, Nick Schmaltz also had himself a game. He scored a goal and had 6 shots. He also had 5 shots in his other return game. So, well, fun team. Maybe we got to go, Ben, on a road trip sometime and go to one of these home games that are going to be coming up. I think that'd be a lot of fun in that stadium.
We could stay with our pal Jade's mom, who lives out in Arizona. So there we go.
That'd
got a
perfect.
place to stay. Yeah, Arizona too. Like, you throwing in that point for me?
Mm-hmm.
Elan, I feel like I'm taken aback because of the excitement with which you describe some of the players that I think are the most mundane sounding possible. Like you just rattled off JJ Moser, like just like a household name, and I just appreciate your enthusiasm. Even on our little midweek show, you bring it every time.
He had 7 blocks yesterday, JJ Moser.
Yeah,
Look at him.
He's
all right,
fine.
there was a goalie you want. Since we're talking about goalies in Vejmelka, you wanted to ask me about Cal Peterson. What's your question?
I asked you a question pre-show. You rudely directed me not to ask you and to wait.
That's my brand now, is not answering people's questions when they message me.
Yeah, can we get into whether or not if I'm Team Brian or Team Elan after?
If you want.
I just wanted to ask, or I guess I did ask, if you think it's interesting that Cal Peterson has started 3 of the last 4 for LA. I have Jonathan Quick on my team. I have asked you multiple times if I can drop him, and you always say no. So now I'm curious what you think about the LA Kings.
Yeah, it's such a shame because the Kings are like, they look like they're a good team. Like they could do something, but they're just getting sunk by goaltending. And Cal Peterson getting 3 stars in his last 4 games would be interesting if he wasn't like really bad. Like every time he comes in, I'm like, like when he got that start versus the Rangers, I was thinking, oh, that means he'll probably play Tuesday, and then he'll also probably play Sunday. So you can get, and this is a tough week to stream skaters. So you could probably get 2 like goalie starts on what should be a good team. So I was thinking of streaming in Cal Peterson. Actually, in my league that I'm in with you, John and I were actually thinking of streaming in Cal Peterson and dropping UPL, the one who caused all this drama with Brian. And the thing is, I was cooking dinner, and then by the time I was going to go make that move, because LA's game was a late game, so I thought I had plenty of time, but I forgot that Buffalo's game was an early game, and on Fantrax you could at least drop someone who's started on like Yahoo, but if you drop someone whose game is started, then the move only takes effect the next day, which is great. I'm not complaining about that functionality, but it was like too late to drop UPL for Cal Peterson, and it turned out that I'm happy that happened, because Peterson stunk again. He let in 4 goals on only 24 shots against the Rangers. UPL, by the way, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen had a good game yesterday for Buffalo. And yeah, maybe you can drop Quick. Like, I don't know, like it's tough, because before when I was saying no, it was because Quick was a volume guy. So now Peterson's gotten some starts, but the fact that Peterson hasn't been able to handle it makes me think that they're probably just going to have to go back to Quick. But the thing is, Quick has stunk lately. So maybe now it's a point where just neither of them are interesting. Yeah,
I feel like the reason I wanted to drop Quick when I did is because I knew there would be times like this where just sure, Jonathan Quick is the 1A, but like not in a way where they want to give him 60 starts this year or 50 starts. 55. I think in general they'd be happy if it worked out to like 48 and 36 or whatever that ratio is.
They'd be happy, I think, to have Cal Peterson play like 65% of the games. Like that's why they signed him to that that's why they signed him to that contract. The problem is he's not doing well. So too bad.
I have a question for you though, Elan, or quiz, I guess. I'm looking at Natural Stat Trick, the 5-on-5 save percentage. The LA Kings are in the bottom 5, as I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised. I'm wondering if you can guess any of the other teams that join them in the bottom 5 for even strength save percentage this year.
All right, who sucks here? I don't know. Anaheim jumps out at me as a team that hasn't gotten good goaltending.
They're surprisingly in the top half of the top 20. They're about 20.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been keeping track of if they've been doing well at even strength or short-handed, but okay, interesting. Sure. Let's see here. I mean, Columbus, man,
number 32. You nailed it.
Okay, so am I trying to guess all of them? All right, let's see.
I'm just seeing how many you can get like relatively quickly. Yeah.
Okay, let's go with Vancouver. They were doing really badly for a while.
No, they're around where Anaheim is. I mean,
Okay.
there's a big group of like mushy middle teams like that are all within a few percentage points of each other. You know what I mean? I'll just
Hmm.
tell you though, the other two that I think are very gettable are the Sharks and the Canadians. That along with Columbus, that's the bottom three. Then it's the Kings, number 5, and number 6. I'll tell you is the Arizona Coyotes, who we just discussed. Number 5, though, the Calgary Flames, which is that might be the saddest team to see there in terms of goaltending, letting down the team in front of them.
I mean, it's pretty crazy because I thought Calgary was going to be even stronger defensively than last
Exactly.
year because
Yeah.
they got Uyghur.
Well, they're
Didn't,
really good. They are very good defensively. They're one of the better teams defensively in the league, but
mhm.
they aren't getting goaltending.
But hey, recently they're doing better, right? They've won 4 of their last 6
Mhm.
after this like crazy losing streak that they were on. So maybe things are starting to turn around for the
Oh yeah.
Flames.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Let's go
yeah.
Flames. All right, let's go to an outjury. Okay. I wanted to go to Washington. TJ Oshie finally returned from what was ailing him. He got right to the top power play. He got right to a line with Kuznetsov and Sonny Milano, because of course Sonny Milano is a top 6 player on Washington. Everyone knows that. TJ Oshie, though, nice return game, right? 2 assists, including 1 on the power play, 3 shots. He's normally not a big shooter, 7 hits. So a JJ Moser, JJ Moser was 7 blocks. Who was the one that I would say? Oh, was it Peugeot that had a lot of hits? I don't know. Some people get a lot of hits. TJ Oshie is one of them. Anyway, he's someone who I was able to grab for free in our joint league, the same one we were just talking about with the whole Cal Peterson and UPL situation. He was in IR, and we have it set up in this very friendly way where you can just add a player from IR directly to your IR. Or should I say, like, you could add someone directly from free agency to your IR if they're injury eligible. Unlike in Cupful, we have it set, which I think is the more proper way, where you have to
Yeah, I
drop
didn't know
someone.
this was the case. I'm thinking I gotta go turn that off.
Yeah, you could go turn that off now because I already got TJ Oshie in my IR. I'm going to have to
Yeah, we're
obviously
gonna
drop
drop
someone.
Oshie for you. Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know if he's available in your leagues. Obviously, you're not going to be able to just bring him to your IR anymore because he is clearly healthy, but he still is only rostered in 32% of leagues. And he's just someone that is not like going to, burn the place to the ground. I don't know what that's not the right saying. Going to blow the doors off the place, I think is what the idiom I was going for. But he's a very solid player that he's always been rostered in all of my fantasy leagues, I think, ever since I started playing. So if he's out there, I think you should go get him.
Was he not a drop last year? I feel like he was a guy who got dropped last year.
I would like to go back and see. In couple tier 1, which you were in with me, was he someone who
Mhm.
was available in free agency throughout the season? We'd have to go back and see the stats there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did get hurt.
Right.
Um,
I guess he averaged in Kakupful. Let me bring this up here. Let me
Thank
do
you.
an edit point. One sec.
He played 44 games.
Okay. Yeah, looks like he averaged 3.81 couple points per game last year, which is a little,
Mhm.
that's right on the cusp for me. It's like
Yeah.
someone that's like going to be at the top of my free agency, or like someone that I'm rostering. So yeah, I guess it was a bit of a
Droppable. I
down
think it's
year.
like what we talked about with Dylan Cousins, where it's like a player who you can definitely stream when a good schedule is coming up. You're going to have him. He's going to be one of the first people to get added in for that roster or for that schedule, but not somebody who, when you're not able to get him in for a week or two of busy nights, that you need to keep.
Right.
And when I look at TJ Oshie prior to the injury and now, there's no change in deployment. I don't really see any reason to think he's suddenly good. He was on pace for 46 points before last night's game. That's completely in line with his pace last year. I'm happy to see him back because when he was announced to be out indefinitely a month ago, it felt really ominous. I don't know why it felt like we wouldn't see him again this year, but it seemed like they were just like, it was bye-bye for TJ Oshie, and I'm happy to hear that he's back. And I've always liked TJ Oshie since after that cup win. He gave a great interview after the Caps won the cup in 2019. Loved it.
What do you
But yeah,
say?
he was shouting out his dad, who had
Oh,
recently gotten sick. Yeah, so TJ Oshie, not somebody I'm super excited for in fantasy, but yeah, if the schedule is good, and I believe Washington has an off night game or two early next week, if I'm not mistaken.
all the more reason. Get on the Oshie train.
In
I
which
guess. I guess.
case, like,
Yeah.
yeah, streamable, but I don't, I'm not very excited about Washington in general until, no, I'm wrong. They have a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So yeah, I'm not that excited about TJ Oshie, unfortunately.
Okay, very fair. Let's end the show over in Minnesota, where we had some drama, right? Because Kalen Addison, a guy who we were all so excited about at the start of the year when we saw that he was going to be on the top power play instead of Jared Spurgeon, then he like got on that top power play, and then he had a big game early on. I think it was like a 3-point game, and everyone was like rushing to add him. I think there was a whole thing on short shifts where Lewis had dropped him impatiently right before that good game. Then Lewis was like, "Oh, I guess I waited too long." Anyway, since then he was doing nothing, even though he was on that top power play. Lewis did end up dropping him. He's actually still a free agent in a couple tier ones. I'm very excited to get your advice here before my competitors hear it. But like now, then recently, anyways, going into yesterday, he was supposed to be a healthy scratch. They announced that Alex Goligoski, we saw in practice, Goligoski was going to play on the top power play instead of Addison. Oh yeah, you guys talked about this on short shifts on Tuesday. Then Jonas Brodin was sick, so he couldn't play. So then Kalen Addison got back into the lineup, got back to the top power play, and had himself a game. He played 17 minutes. He had a goal and an assist. Now, I don't know. Is this just like a blip and like still I should leave him in free agency and we should all just forget about him? Or now is it like maybe, sometimes the coach is trying to teach the player a lesson and scratch, and maybe you don't actually need to have the player scratched officially. Just the threat that he was going to get scratched lit a fire under him. And maybe now Kalen Addison should go back to what we thought of him at the start of the year. Or is this, just a blip? What are your thoughts? And obviously, there's no way to predict. I'm just curious to get your gut feeling here. And you're muted.
I have many thoughts on Kalen Addison.
All right. I'm going to strap
First
in
of
here.
all, I dropped him on Monday, I guess I dropped him on Sunday for a streamer at the end of last week. And I didn't feel bad about it. I held on to him longer than most. And I generally feel like in a league like a cup full of points league where you don't get extra points for rostering peripheral heavy players this early in the season, especially now that I'm not in tier 1, which carries this like intensity to it. The roster churn is so intense that you really do feel like you have to maximize every point. I feel like I don't mind holding a Kalen Addison type who's not going to like light the world on fire as my number 4 defenseman. I'm giving up, like a point a game or so on average to not roster like the Jacob Slavins of the world instead. I will ask you this, Elan. Do you know what Lewis did in order to get Kalen Addison back on his lineup after he dropped him?
No, I mean, I'm not up to speed on my Lewis Ezekiel couple transaction history.
Well, I mean, you are in his division. That's why I thought you may. But and this is the test. If Lewis is listening, we'll hear about this part when he responds to this episode. But yeah, he traded Jeff Skinner for Kalen Addison shortly after he dropped him after the 3-point outburst.
No.
So not a fun player in Lewis's recent history.
Yikes.
I will say I talked the other night about how Addison sitting could be, the coach doing the old let's kick him into gear, give him that healthy scratch maneuver. And I think it's really funny to think of like he didn't even miss a game, but the idea of being like, the redemption narrative, like he almost missed this game and it really kicked him into gear. It's hard for me to, to see sort of what has changed for Kalen Addison in order to raise him to a new level. So no, for me, nothing has changed personally. I rewatched some of the highlights from the other night or last night. The power play assist, he was given the puck as the rest of the forwards set up. He gave it back to Kaprizov, who found I can't recall who fired the puck in from the other end, but great pass from Kaprizov, great goal for the Wild. And I think if Kalen Addison wasn't really factoring in on goals on the power play earlier in the season, this wasn't the type and I've seen some great Kalen Addison plays earlier in the year, but I think it's unlikely. I think that he's sort of the one of those power play defensemen who just isn't going to be a huge part of the distribution process. He's not going to touch the puck much. So I don't think he's a must grab for you in tier 1, Elan.
Yeah, I think I am with you there. You think back to Spurgeon last year, was on the top power play, but still didn't get too many power play points. By the way, that player who scored that power play goal at the end of the game was Matt Boldy, who we talked about on the last mega show of Keeping Karlsson as someone on a big cold streak. So he busted out of that with that 1 goal, 2 assists in the blowout over Winnipeg. So if you still have him, I think now's a good time to sell maybe, because I'm still just as nervous about him as I was before. It just seems like Winnipeg just totally fell apart. Though, hey, being on the top power play, and I think Boldy is obviously more likely to get those power play points than Addison. All right, Ben, I guess before the ad break, I feel like we were on track to have a good, solid short shift. But now it seems like we have actually veered into a long shift. I apologize, but hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. Ben, it was so great talking to you. Why don't you tell everyone where they can follow all of your great work?
Because I prepared for this moment and have that information.
I mean, what is it? You have a Twitter. Just say your Twitter handle. Come on.
Our Twitter is @ShortShiftsKK. You should follow the Patreon, Keeping Karlsson. Patreon.com/Keeping Karlsson, I assume.
That'll work.
Yeah. And then follow all of our besties on social media. Also, come hang out with us in the Discord. And remember to play smart and keep your shifts extremely tiny. Short.
Which is like, yeah.
What?
Which is something we say, but it's not really something we do, right? We don't really, or at least I don't.
You don't.
Do you and Lewis? I don't know. How long was your last episode? Let me check.
Shorter than this one.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, this one's 40 minutes. What are you talking about?
That one was 30 minutes. Not that short.
10
I think
minutes?
the original idea was going to be 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Inflation.
Inflation of podcast time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. I look forward to seeing you all next week when the team is back.
I guess you'll be back on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like too old. I'm like, I don't know how to do the Twitch. I could set up a YouTube. That's all I got for you guys.
You don't have to do anything else. You just show up at the link that we send you, and then John does all the work.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like today, like theoretically, if I was really great, I would have been like, don't worry, I'll set up the Twitch. Like John is the only person who knows how to do Twitch. Just I'm not one of those people who knows how to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
By design.
Anything else you want to chat about?
You did know how to do Twitch, right? And then you had a baby and you immediately lost the know-how to do like 20% of the technical stuff that you knew how to do before, I presume.
I hope that won't be the case when I go back to work. Otherwise, I'm in trouble.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
See ya. Okay, I guess I'll stop this stream now. And then we can talk crap about all the listeners. One sec. Bye.